Well, hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and prepare for takeoff. There goes some of our airplanes here for the new airport DLC for City Skylines. It's good to see you all back. It's been a while since I've made a video on this game, primarily doing live streams and whatnot, but during our live streams, we were able to make this massive international airport. Now, this is my first attempt at making an airport, and I am using a couple of minor mods, such as the Move It mod, and also the Roundabout Maker, and a few appearance mods to kind of change the look on the screen. But for the most part, this is the type of airport that you can build in the vanilla new DLC. Additionally, there's all sorts of new things, including new trains that can come and go from your airport and bring passengers at a larger capacity, and it's the same with the buses, new bendy buses, as well as double-deckers that hold up to 50 or 60 new people. And of course, there's all sorts of new things here, so make sure you subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and smash that like button, and tune in today's stream, by the way, if you have more questions for it. And of course, for more things such as the vehicle pack coming out today, and also the new map pack. There's 8 new maps coming in a separate content creator pack, but also there are 3 new maps for the DLC for airports. This one being, I believe it's Azure Bay, and there's 2 other ones that kind of primarily focus on either islands or beach. They're all tropical, and they all feel kind of like Japan or whatnot. But boy, oh boy, is this a beautiful city made in just a couple of live streams here. I'm focusing more on the airport here. So the city is kind of just made quickly in order to try to get tourism here. We have ourselves a nice little monorail and whatnot. It's a beefy city. You can kind of see the PC chugging a little bit. Got some pretty good PC specs, but check this out. We've got ourselves another plane, or rather train for the planes, our airport train. Yeah. So this also has an increased capacity, so there's a new airport hub for trains, buses, and metro. And of course, you can also put your helicopters here if you have any of the wonderful Sunset Harbor DLC. Now, if we take a look at the airport, I'm going to go through everything here that you can do in your airport. One thing that I've noticed is no matter how many incinerators or things that I have near my airport, one of the things I've noticed is it seems like all the terminals are awfully busy with trash all the time. And this is the modern 2-story I guess, terminal and also concourse. But over here, we have an ultra-modern. And one thing we've learned is that the concourses and the terminals and whatnot don't have to be connected. So you can imagine people kind of walking under the runways or something through a little bit of a tunnel or something to the other sections. Over here, we have big jets. These are big jet stands. And, of course, we also have medium jet stands and a small private jet stand over here, too, which isn't too busy at the moment. There's a few other problems and such in the city. You can go ahead and point those out down below, and we'll fix those a little bit later. But as this was primarily focused on the airport DLC, I tried my darndest to try to bring every sort of mode of transportation here to the airport. And of course, there's 3 different types of these to build. Now, your airport will unlock, pay attention now, this is very important, at 2,800 citizens, which sounds very small, but that is the same population at which mass transit unlocks, so that's when you can start first connecting buses and then metro and train to your airport as well. You have 3 terminals to choose from. You have classic, modern style, and ultra modern, and you can build your terminals just in one style, like for example ultra modern, and then there's 3 designs to choose from. So your single story, 2-story, and your large 2-story as well. Now, that one's in the shape of a triangle for all 3 of these, so it's a little more, you got to be a little more creative to deal with that one. And so in this case, we went for a little bit more square. There are also various different prices, and I don't think it affects the attractiveness of your airport. But just like with the Parks DLC, the attractiveness of your airport will allow you to charge a boatload for tickets. In this case, if we take a look at our airport info, you can see that almost, we're getting close to 500,000 people at 329,000. People coming to visit the city, and all the passenger seats that are used. It fluctuates based on what's going on in the city, sporting events, etc., etc. But once you reach Tier 3, you can charge a boatload for your tickets, and in this case, we make $137,000 for that. There's a few new things added to the game as well, including a airport airlines headquarters. So you can place that down, and it'll add a lot of happiness to your city, as well as a new museum, too, that has all sorts of new airplanes and such, which we'll take a look in today's live stream, too, so make sure you tune in for that. Now, this is a fantastic way to utilize the industrial DLC, or industries DLC, and also mass transit, too, because you've got all these new options and such. Over here, we built a little bit of a train station, and I would recommend, and I've also even seen, I've done this before with, like, nuclear power plants, where I built the toll booth as kind of a checkpoint, and I've seen other YouTubers such as City Planner Plays also recommend to build this as kind of like a little security hub for your industrial trucks and such coming in. So nice thing is the DLC also comes with a train hub that can connect directly to your roads here that can then bring cargo to and from airplanes. Now in this case, we have cargo stands here where 3 airplanes can load or unload cargo. There's also all sorts of cool decorations such as parked planes and also aviation fuel that'll raise your rating. So these planes here are parked, just decorative. They don't really do anything. One thing I've experienced so far is it is quite frustrating to lay out your airport with all taxiways being one way. So all your designs kind of have to accommodate a runway such as this. And another thing, our airport, the airplanes will take an immediate left-hand turn to make the nearest line to the airport line. Similar to ferries, for example, that are out in the ocean. You'll see the ferries kind of coming up close and making their way basically towards the beach and then leaving. They'll kind of come in if there's somewhere for them to dock. It's the same for the planes. So it's kind of, I'm going to have to find a way, or if you can think of a way where you can figure out how to build your airport before you start in the direction of the, I guess, of the traffic way or the course that the planes will use, it might make it a little easier that the planes take off and directly fly towards it. If you build underneath that line, your planes will basically make a 90-degree turn like a Kerbal Space Program rocket and go straight up in the air. But it is nice to see your planes coming in. Now, I will say one thing that irked me a bit, too, is that the planes don't necessarily act as if they're at an airport. They don't hold short of the runway. In other words, they don't wait for permission. They just keep on flowing like traffic. Just think of them like cars, and this being like a highway. They just go, go, go unless something's blocking their way. And even when they're taking off, planes will come and land behind them. But all planes can use the runway. You don't have to build different size runways. In this case, the length doesn't matter, except for if it's 70 units, I believe. No, 50 is the minimum, I believe. And I would recommend, if you're trying to accommodate the big planes, maybe go for about maybe 120 or so. This one's about 140, 135, just to kind of meet up with the design of the ultra-modern concourse here. There's all sorts of different lounges and things that you can install, too, that add to your prestige of the airport. And planes will come in day and night. Now, you can see my money fluctuating like crazy based on how busy the airport is. And just kind of like in real life, flights all come in from once at all sorts of different countries, and then the airport's kind of quiet. So your money may fluctuate here. So don't panic as this being something as if your city's failing or out of power or something like that, although I am recovering from a mistake like that. One thing I've also noticed for this DLC, too, is it's a great place, if you have a large cargo hub, it's a great place to hide some of your power plants. Like, for example, here we have geothermal plants that aren't too much higher than than most of the buildings at the airport. So it's about that same level. And it's great to store other things such as water or maybe additional garbage storage, or in this case, we have an incinerator nearby to deal with all the constant trash from the terminal. Trains are coming in from off-map. We can connect here to the national grid. And then, of course, we have 2 lines for our cargo planes and 1 line for our passenger trains that can come through the airport and then into the inner city, where we've used the Metro monorail train hub. So Metro line under the ground is connected here. A monorail is connected to go around the city to tourist destinations, and the train hub is also connected here so people can go directly to the city. Now, another cool thing is that with this DLC, there's also some free updates, too, that add some really cool stuff that they prompt on the main screen. I don't think I've seen this before. I think it's new, although I feel like it could have been in before. But the coolest thing is that you can actually click on your roadways now and change the trees at any time to many different designs. So if you want to change them, I don't know if this was in before, but there's also new free content creator trees that some wonderful artists have made. I believe it was Mr. Oh, I forgot his name already. I apologize, but there's been some wonderful people in the community who've been asked to design all sorts of things for this pack or for the DLC and also the free update. So make sure you check the Steam store page for a full list of everything. There's a ton of new stuff. Even I don't know it all, and I've been trying to peek at everything. And, of course, there's also a new vehicle pack as well that'll work with your city with different capacities and higher speed vehicles. And also New planes have been added too. The planes will actually raise their landing gear, most of them, when they get up to cruise altitude. It takes a while, but they don't raise their landing gear when they start to clear the runway. It's pretty much when they're up at the cruise altitude, way up above the city. Now, this airport is a lot of work here, inspired by City Planner Place. I saw like a nice little train going through his kind of main terminal, so it's nice to put all your terminal buildings and stuff up front. We've got a airport bus station here, and underground you can actually see where the metro connects to, and this is a great opportunity to connect your buildings via the metro system, because if we take a look at that, you can actually see where the metro system can be utilized as a shuttle for your train stations and also your concourses and such. So in this case, we have people going over to the main concourse hub where the train is connected here on the left side, and also these trains can go back up to the metro train station here, and also the intercity bus station here. So if you get off at the airport, you can go to another city, you can get on the metro and go to another terminal if you need to. I guess you could consider this as a second terminal. Minneapolis, where I live, has a separate terminal as well, where different types of airlines operate from, smaller airlines in the second terminal, and even I believe an Air National Guard or an Air Force wing within the airport too, for supplies and things like that. I've actually been on C-130s at that airport as well. So thanks to them for giving me a tour back when I was much younger. But as you can see, the money is just flying in now, all the tourism. This just works fantastically with your metro systems. Now, I don't think I have the most amount of people coming in. You can see a few number of DLCs here. Most of the assets that you see on the screen I've utilized without DLCs, or rather, sorry, without mods. But I made a lovely, there's luxury hotels now that you can put, both budget hotels and luxury hotels. And I've been filling this pool of water manually here for a lovely little, I guess, a luxury hotel kind of, I don't know, trying to build something here to make it look a little different and to fill in the space. Lots and lots of trees to utilize. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and there's some really lovely space filled in with just all sorts of different trees. Fantastic in a tropical setting, too, because, of course, there's going to be plenty of palm trees. The California palm trees look fantastic, nice and tall and skinny, so that way they can kind of be put into a nice succession where they don't take up a lot of space, but you can see them above the building, which looks fantastic as well. So a lot of things can be done in this DLC, and I think it's just phenomenal. Now, one thing that I must make absolutely clear is that we're also playing with the Unlock All Tiles mod, and the airport itself, I mean, if you look at the airport itself is as big as the city, if not bigger. And the city on the left was kind of a starter city to generate funds to build this bigger city to then build the airport. The airport is much more expensive than you'd imagine, incredibly expensive, and we're talking millions of dollars, and also very, very large. And it was a smart move to put this by a highway that comes into the city. This will probably be changed in the future, and I would urge you to redesign it several times. But as your airport prestige increases from 1-star to 2-star to 3-star, you'll be designing, redesigning, and redesigning again your airport to accommodate the bigger and bigger aircraft. So give yourself tons of space. And another good tool here is under the airports, which you can now zone, just like you would a university or just like you would a park or a zoo. The paint airport area will clear trees and also flatten out land nearby your airport. So one new feature that I understand coming to the DLC, but I think should come to the base game if not, is that you can now buy and sell soil. So if you're flattening out an area that's somewhat mountainous, you can sell the soil if you don't have a place to put it, or you can buy the soil if you need it. One thing is that it'll buy the maximum amount or sell the maximum amount, from what I understand, and or at least get you to maximum through there. So you can always eat away at the coastline here. We're trying to pull the beach back a little bit more and more and more, so it can be close to our hotel district here in the Middle Park district here. And also there's some entertainment here, hotels here, and we got a lot more to add to this city. But I must say that the time that I spent investing in the airport was time well spent. I really think that the ability to make custom, well, large public spaces like an airport, or as previous we've seen zoos and parks, is a really big and important thing for your city. Now we've seen endless, city blocks, and in this case it's a gridiron, not the greatest, I would say, but of course now that we're making money and playing kind of in the more legit mode, of actually having a budget, not unlimited funds. This is a great way now to generate almost endless funds and to be able to build within our city with almost a unlimited budget. And now we can focus on adding more tourist districts and expanding the city over here in this triangular area, redoing the highway, and building even more up here. Kind of weird that a city with 20,000 people would have such a massive airport, but it is nice, almost cheat mode, that you get to start your airport early because it makes so much money. And your international airport, too, doesn't unlock. The base international airport doesn't unlock until you get to 70,000 population. So keep in mind, there's also the cargo airport that you can put down, and the international airport too, and other smaller airports that are in there, like I think there's something about aircraft enthusiast airport too, so you can actually put that down within this airport, or the helicopters from the Sunset Harbor DLC and give helicopter tours from your airport, so you can consolidate all your buildings here. I've also gone ahead and put our helicopter depot here. One thing I've noticed too is that the airport likes to start on fire a lot. Although the problem with that is that a lot of the buildings that can start on fire, such as the terminals here, aren't marked that they're flammable. The cargo ones are marked, but these ones can also catch on fire, and the fire department will have to go to the terminal in order to fight those fires. So I've put a helicopter firefighter depot over here, and I've also put a fire department over here, so that way they're rather close, right about here, and a police station too, so they're closer to the main terminal, kind of serving as a dedicated fire department for the airport. Now, the amount of mods that could come with this have got me more than excited. I think Paradox needs to step up a little bit more with offering more and more features for these types of things, and not relying on the modding community so heavily. I think there's certain things that they can't do. For example, liveries for airplanes would be a copyright issue, so Delta, United, FedEx, etc., KLM, DHL. These are all airlines that they would have to be modded in later, but I hope that they add more and more in the future. I can hear the fire. Oh, there it is. Oh, nice. The fire department going out to fight a fire. Now, another thing that many people who've been playing this have been recommending is notice all the backup on the runway. Planes will often clip through each other and park at the end of the runway. And this is all based on them. Well, unfortunately, these planes are not smart enough to take the nearest taxi, or rather the taxiway to the nearest parking stand. So if a plane is blocking the way, it blocks up the whole traffic. Now, I don't think, as far as I know, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, I've been trying to pay attention, but I don't think planes arriving give you any sort of influx of cash. Now, there might be, if you do happen to get more money, maybe the game will spawn more airplanes in a type of animation, but it doesn't look like if a plane arrives that you'll then get a boost of cash for each arrival, that type of thing. It just seems to animate how busy the airport is based on numbers, and those numbers could be based on the tourism in your city, and also people moving to the city or whatnot. It's based on many a different factor. And it looks like, for the most part, our luxury hotels and whatnot are kind of almost abandoned with 11 people here. But keep in mind, our city's only 21,000, so if we double, quadruple, if we get close to like 250,000 people, 500,000 people, or 1 million people, that means the airport's going to get way busier, and there'll be more destinations to visit, which is great because now, from the very beginning of the game, at 2,800 citizens, you can now then build a transport network in preparation for those giant influxes with everything ready at the start. You don't have to save space that's unattended for later from your for your international airport. It was always something where you'd leave a blank space, like for example here, plop it down later, and then finally connect it. It can grow with your city. So the airport growing with, for example, your tourism district, growing with your city, and growing with your bus networks, and et cetera, which a lot of this I'll need to rework, is quite awesome. The buses are taking the bus lanes. It's quite helpful. There's also a dedicated, as I mentioned, subway train, a dedicated train car, and dedicated buses for the airport, and you can use those anywhere. You don't necessarily have to use those on the bus route to the airport itself, and you can have mini buses going to many different locations too. I haven't set up a lot of this stuff, but the bare bones are now finally here. In addition, I think I would make a, if these are private jets here, or smaller jets, I'll make a private runway over here and continue to expand. But I must say, building the airport has been a ton of fun, and I want to be able to build factories like this too. It would be nice if City Skylines in the industrial DLC had all these processing areas that you could make in the industry DLC. I always seem to just end up making a grid square where, like, for example, a logging camp is next to a processing thing, next to a paper thing. I'll have to get more creative with that. I've made lumber mills and such before, but it just seems like a wonderful way to make a ton of money. With the whole map unlocked too, it allows for me to build a national park over here and continue to make all sorts of different types of national parks and whatnot. Now, a lot of the base game is a little restrictive, I'll say, with where we're supposed to start is right about here, and then you can buy tiles down this way, but getting some of these DLCs at the start is fantastic. So for those of you on console, you may not be able to do things to this size, but keep in mind things will unlock and the DLC will have the same things in it aside from mods, of course. So welcome to Olisar City, a fantastic city on the grow, with many, many highways and much more to improve upon. And really, truly, are you ever done building in City Skylines? I would argue no. I'm going to go ahead and continue to fill in water here. This is something I'm going to have to babysit with the Disasters DLC, which will pump water then into this little basin. I wish there was a way to get it in there, but I don't want to make a stream there just yet. Another thing I would recommend and that I plan to do in the future is that none of our citizens are probably going to want to live next to the noisy runways. So this could be an opportunity to move all of these, these processing plants for water, such as the polluting pipes over here and the water pumps over here, over to this side. So if we were to notch out this area, we could make a nice little water processing area and pull from the river directly. It would be out of the sight of the citizens. It would be next to the airport where nobody wants to live. It'd be low land value around the airport, where additionally you can put down all sorts of fences too to mark the territory. Now, one thing we plan to do in the future is to build up our industrial area, so that way deliveries can be made directly to the train depot, and also, of course, directly to the cargo hub, which is owned by our friend Chinook. So thank you very much for your support on that. So now we can add a bunch of new runways. We can add a bunch more helicopters. And so far, we've been playing this for about maybe 12 hours or so, or 15 hours. And I must say that my favorite thing is to decorate the airport and to make it look nice for all the guests. Additionally, you can easily upgrade all of these hubs too by clicking on, if you go to the airport tab, and if you want to upgrade something or downgrade something, to a modern, from a modern airport concourse to, like, for example, an ultra-modern, you can do that with an easy click, just an easy little upgrade, or downgrade if you want to, like, for example, to the classic, or back up to the modern as well. It costs you a little bit of money, and it's kind of more for your preference, but it looks nice. And also, you can mix and match all these different control towers. For example, the modern control tower is here, but we can also build the classic control tower too, which seems to be more like from the maybe the 50s to the 80s. The modern one maybe from like the 80s to like the mid-2000s, like 2010s, and the ultra-modern being anything from like maybe 2010 and later. All looks good though. They all have different shapes as well. So the modern, the classic concourse hub looks a little bit more like a, is this a hexagon, I believe? And also the modern one looks more like a guitar pick, kind of more of this pointed triangular shape, and the modern one looking a little bit more like an oval. So you can get a little bit more creative with your designs here. And of course that does differ to where you can put all of your parking stands. So for example, in this case, we could put parking stands all along the terminal. We could even put parking stands here and extend our taxiway, but some things can get real troublesome. My biggest trouble so far has been laying out these runways and getting the distance correct for the taxiways, so the Move It mod is almost an absolute must, unless you don't mind spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars or rebuilding things multiple times. I will say I've probably spent more time in the airport than the city, but the city's still got a lot of the things that it needs to grow. Not to mention our friend Chirpy here has two new little costumes with him, little pilot's hat and also the little ATC, or I guess ground crew, headphones that he can wear too, so he can squawk any frequency that he wants. Fantastic, literally. Well, fantastic. I must say too, another great thing is I added restaurants and offices next to the airport too. So a lot of things that you don't want to see in your downtown city can also be added here, with lots of little walkways for people to get across to, for example, from the terminal building to the hotels, from the hotels to the bus terminals, and from the bus terminals over to the metro station and or the concourse to enter the terminals too. So lots of things to unpack here. There's a boatload of activity, and I want to see this DLC continue to be refined and patched. I feel like there's a few things maybe missing, like for example, polishing of some of how the game works. But again, this is a city builder, not necessarily, you know, an FTC approved, you know, airport building simulator. Although, damn, some of those other games out there where you build airports are a lot of fun. Airport CEO and Skyhaven and a few others are fantastic. But I like it like this, where we can actually almost play this a little bit more like Transport Fever, where it's all about how you, well, one, you build the airport custom in a very fantastic way. I hope we see more transport games like this where we can build our own custom buildings with hangars and the like, and then connect it to a major network. Now, if you don't remember, the developers of Cities Skylines also made the games Cities in Motion and Cities in Motion 2, where you could have a mass transit system of buses and planes and trains and stuff. A really fantastic game. I've got to play it on the channel. Old, but very gold, and this is why Cities Skylines is fantastic, because the developers started by doing a lot of mass transit stuff, and I think this airport DLC brings things full circle. Again, if you have the Industrial DLC or Industries DLC, the Sunset Harbor DLC, and also maybe the Parks DLC for tourism, but definitely the Mass Transit DLC. Everything comes together here perfectly. A lot of things I need to improve, so anything you want to see different, definitely give me a shout down below in the comments section. What I need to improve, what I've missed. There's a boatload to do. But I must say the airport, for how I stumbled upon this, is looking fantastic. Honestly, to be honest with you, I have no idea how I made this. I really don't know much about airports. I've studied a little bit of them in school, and things like, you know, poppy lights, and wow, is that plane is literally reversing onto the runway and is now is this Microsoft Flight Sim? This is like playing with one of your goofy, oh boy, that's going to be bad times. Wow, yeah, they just don't care. But anyway, if you can get past the whole cringe of seeing planes like crash into each other and take off and do all sorts of crazy stuff, if you're an airplane buff, don't get your hopes up for it being super realistic until mods come out. I'm sure there'll be a lot of mods and where you can control airplane traffic just like you would city traffic. But I'm a complete noob, and yet I somehow managed to make this with the help of looking at some screenshots on the store page and also City Planner Plays. So go ahead and take screenshots of your own, and go ahead and take a look at the airport here as we say goodbye to our wonderful city. I hope to see you all in our live stream here today, so thanks again for all the awesome support. I'll be playing this game a lot more throughout the week, as now we can focus on building the city, which is the real reason to bring in more people to your, well, to your airport. Now that you built it big, now it's time to fill in all that space and have people come from the airport, you know, via all your transport networks to the city. We've got metro trains coming in, we've got high-speed rail coming in. A lot of things to buff out, but are you ever truly done with City Skylines? I think not. I was not expecting to see another DLC for City Skylines, and I thought Sunset Harbor was them literally saying it was the sun setting on City Skylines would add a new game. But this brings promise for many new games, and I hope to see them sometime soon. Thanks again for subscribing. Thanks again for tuning into the channel. I hope you all have a wonderful good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I'll see you later for more. I hope that any questions that are unanswered you ask down below in the comment section, and I'll be happy to reply. And I'd encourage you guys watching who know to answer down below. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.